the most advanced artificial intelligence companies in the world are quietly reproducing an organizational model that was developed in medieval Europe between the 12th and 17th centuries, not as a historical curiosity, as a functional solution to the same set of institutional problems that the medieval guilds faced, and solved with a precision that no subsequent organizational model has improved upon. The problems are: how do you control access to a technology that is simultaneously too powerful to be widely distributed and too complex to be regulated from outside the institution that holds it? How do you train practitioners in ways that ensure loyalty to the institution alongside competency in the technique? How do you manage the reputation of a practice whose outputs cannot be evaluated by those who do not understand it? And how do you maintain institutional control over a domain whose foundational knowledge is advancing faster than any regulatory framework can track? These are the problems that the medieval guilds solved, and they are the problems that contemporary AI companies are currently solving using the same organizational architecture. In 2023, AI governance researcher Amba Kak at the AI Now Institute published a comparative analysis of AI company organizational structures and medieval guild organization, documenting what she called the guild convergence thesis, at the finding that the most powerful contemporary AI organizations have independently reproduced the structural features of the medieval guild system, because those features represent the most effective known solution to the institutional problems that arise when a small group controls a technology too complex to be externally regulated. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which guild organizational features AI companies have reproduced, why those features were developed by the guilds, and what the guild system's historical record reveals about the long-term consequences of allowing a small institutional group to control a technology whose outputs affect populations far beyond the guild's membership. The guild was not a professional organization. It was a power architecture, and the AI company is its contemporary successor. The medieval guild was not primarily an organization for ensuring quality or providing mutual support to its members, though it performed both functions. It was primarily an institutional architecture for controlling access to a technology, managing the reputation of that technology, and extracting maximum value from the control position. Historian Pamela O documented in her 2001 Openness, Secrecy, Authorship, Technical Arts and the Culture of Knowledge, the most comprehensive analysis of medieval guild knowledge management in the historical literature, that the guild's defining institutional feature was not its brotherhood or its quality standards, but its systematic management of access to technical knowledge. The guild controlled access to technical knowledge through three interlocking mechanisms that together constituted a complete knowledge monopoly architecture. The first was the apprenticeship system, the controlled transmission of technical knowledge through a hierarchical personal relationship that produced loyalty alongside competency. The apprentice did not simply learn the technique. They learned the technique through a relationship with a master that was designed to produce attachment to the guild's values, norms, and institutional interests as an inseparable component of the technical training. The second was the secrecy norm, the systematic restriction of technical knowledge to guild members, enforced through guild law, social exclusion, and in many documented cases, legal prosecution of non-guild practitioners. The secrecy norm maintained the guild's monopoly position by preventing the diffusion of technical knowledge beyond the guild's membership. The third was the quality certification system, the guild's authority to certify that specific products or services met the guild's standards, which was the public-facing mechanism through which the guild maintained its reputation as the legitimate authority in its domain. The contemporary AI company's organizational architecture reproduces all three mechanisms with modifications appropriate to the contemporary institutional context. The apprenticeship system is reproduced in the PhD training pipeline. the institutional system through which the most technically advanced AI knowledge is transmitted through a hierarchical personal relationship between advisor and student. But the student does not simply learn the technique. They learn the technique through a relationship with a specific research group in a specific institutional context that shapes their values, research priorities, and institutional loyalties as an inseparable component of their technical formation. The concentration of elite AI research in a small number of universities and research organizations, MIT, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, Oxford, the major technology company research labs, and the movement of researchers between academic and commercial contexts through specific institutional networks reproduces the Guild's apprenticeship transmission system at the level of institutional architecture rather than individual relationship. The secrecy norm is reproduced in the systematic restriction of access to the most powerful AI systems and the technical knowledge required to build them. The largest AI models are not publicly available. The training data, training procedures, and architectural details that would allow independent reproduction of the most powerful systems are systematically withheld. The justification offered is safety, preventing misuse by malicious actors. The Guild offered an equivalent justification for its secrecy norms, preventing the misuse of powerful techniques by unqualified practitioners. Both justifications are genuine and simultaneously serve the institutional interest in maintaining the monopoly position that access restriction creates. The quality certification system is reproduced in the most politically consequential of the Guild convergences, the AI safety certification architecture. The emerging AI safety framework, in which AI companies develop their own safety evaluation methodologies, apply those methodologies to their own systems, and certify their own outputs as meeting safety standards, is structurally identical to the Guild's self-regulatory quality certification system. The Guild did not submit to external quality evaluation. It established its own quality standards, trained its members to meet those standards, evaluated member outputs against those standards, and certified to the public that Guild-certified products met the standards the Guild itself had defined. The Guild's self-regulatory quality certification served two functions simultaneously. It maintained the Guild's monopoly by ensuring that only Guild members could produce certified outputs, and it maintained the Guild's reputation by associating the Guild's certification with quality, making the Guild certification the public's only available proxy for evaluating outputs they lack the technical knowledge to evaluate independently. Contemporary AI safety frameworks are being developed by the same organizations that develop the AI systems: OpenAI's safety evaluations, Anthropic's constitutional AI, Google DeepMind's safety research, and are being presented to regulatory bodies and the public as the appropriate mechanism for evaluating AI system safety. The structural parallel to the Guild's self-regulatory certification architecture is precise. Here is where the Guild convergence analysis produces a precise diagnostic for contemporary AI governance. The historical record of the Guild system provides 4 documented long-term consequences of the Guild organizational model that are directly relevant to the contemporary AI governance challenge. Wait. Look at the structure again. The first documented consequence is innovation suppression. The Guild's monopoly architecture systematically suppressed technical innovation that originated outside the Guild's control, not through deliberate malice, but through the structural incentive to maintain the monopoly position that the existing technical knowledge base supported. The Guild that innovated beyond its existing knowledge base risked creating the conditions for its own monopoly to be challenged. The historical record documents that the most significant technical innovations in many Guild-controlled domains occurred at the margins of Guild control or in the aftermath of Guild power reduction. The second consequence is rent extraction. The Guild's control position allowed it to extract economic value from the controlled technology that exceeded what the value of the technology itself would support in a competitive market. The guild maintained prices, controlled entry, and structured the market for its outputs in ways that maximized guild member income rather than social welfare or technological development. The third consequence is regulatory capture. The guild's expertise in its own domain made external regulation practically impossible. Regulators who lacked the technical knowledge to evaluate guild outputs were dependent on guild expertise to develop regulatory frameworks, which the guild then shaped in ways that preserved its monopoly position. The fourth consequence is knowledge fragility. The guild's secrecy norm meant that technical knowledge was concentrated in a small institutional network rather than being distributed across a larger population. When the guild's institutional network was disrupted through political upheaval, economic collapse, or war, the knowledge it held was lost rather than being preserved in the broader population. The pattern does not stop there. The most significant contemporary parallel to the guild's historical trajectory is the transition from guild power to state regulation that occurred in the 17th and 18th centuries, when the guild system's monopoly architecture became sufficiently powerful that national states could no longer tolerate the economic and political consequences of guild control and moved to dismantle the guild architecture through legislative action. The question that the guild convergence analysis poses for contemporary AI governance is whether the contemporary AI company's guild architecture will follow the same trajectory, and whether the regulatory intervention that dismantled the medieval guild system will need to be replicated for the AI institutional architecture before or after the consequences of guild-level AI monopoly have become fully apparent. If this investigation is worth continuing, signal it. The algorithm reads that as a vote for independent analysis. Here is the applicable lens. The guild convergence thesis provides a specific analytical framework for evaluating contemporary AI governance proposals. Ask whether each proposed governance mechanism strengthens or weakens the guild architecture that the most powerful AI companies have reproduced. Proposals for AI company self-regulation, self-developed safety standards, self-administered safety evaluations, voluntary commitments, strengthen the guild architecture by formalizing the self-regulatory quality certification mechanism that is the guild's most powerful monopoly maintenance tool. Proposals for external technical auditing, independent evaluation of AI systems by organizations with technical expertise but institutional independence from the AI companies. Weaken the guild architecture by introducing external evaluation capacity that reduces the AI company's control over the certification mechanism. Proposals for knowledge-sharing requirements, mandating that AI companies make technical details of their systems available for independent evaluation. Weaken the guild architecture by challenging the secrecy norm that is the foundation of the monopoly position. The guild's historical record does not tell us which governance approach will produce the best outcomes for the populations most affected by AI development. It tells us what the long-term institutional consequences of each structural choice are likely to be, based on 5 centuries of documented experience with the organizational architecture that the most powerful AI companies have independently reproduced. The next video in this investigation will show you exactly how the guild convergence manifests in the specific organizational decisions of the 3 largest AI development organizations, and what the historical guild record predicts about the likely regulatory intervention timeline for each. Subscribe so you are there when it publishes. The question is not whether the companies building AI are studying the same organizational models as medieval guilds. CAC's guild convergence documentation, Long's guild knowledge management research, and the structural analysis of AI company organizational features all confirm that they are. The question is whether the contemporary AI guild will be dismantled through the same process that dismantled the medieval one, and what will be lost and gained in that dismantling. This investigation was produced with AI-assisted research tools and human editorial oversight. All claims are grounded in documented historical and institutional sources. Transparency is part of the methodology.